Welcome to the Raging Takes podcast with your hosts, Brian Dixon, Kai Zabo, and Dylan Peters.
What up, you turkeys? Welcome to episode 124 of the Raging Takes podcast. Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. I'm your host, Brian Dixon, joined as always by my co-hosts, Kai the Commissioner Zabo and Dylan Peters. What's going on, boys?
Salutations.
Stinky.
Is there like old food in your room or something like that?
It's a dead bear.
A dead bear. What are you, Robert Kennedy?
No.
Anyone know that story?
It's sad. I'm sad.
Oh, how come?
There's a lot of things. I'll go over it, and he hate me. There's a little teaser there.
All right, well that's quite a tease. We'll go over week 11 of the NFL season. We'll preview Thursday Night Football, of course. Dylan will have He Hate Me, and we'll get to the standings update as well. But first, we'll start off with the question of the day, the raging question of the day. The Giants have officially benched Daniel Jones at quarterback in favor of Tommy DeVito. I think most of us were expecting Drew Lock. I was personally expecting Drew Lock. I don't know if you guys were, but is this the correct move? And what can we expect from the rest of the members of the Giants offense rest of the season, particularly like Malik Neighbors? Did I say that weirdly? Particularly Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, the pass catchers. Go ahead, Kai. Start with you.
Well, I guess financially, it's probably good for the Giants that they sit Jones because I believe they owe him money if he gets injured, right? For some odd reason.
$23 million, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. So lock him up and store him away in a deep, dark room. Don't let him come out. But
let him go. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the logic with starting Tommy DeVito is here. It's like you kind of already know what Drew Lock is, and maybe you don't know with Tommy DeVito yet. I mean, he only played, how many games did he play last year exactly? About 6 or
like 5-ish, I want to say, something like that.
So, I mean, yeah, he didn't look good, but small sample size. Maybe they want to take another look at him, because it's obvious the Giants are going to draft a quarterback in the offseason, but maybe they want to see if Tommy DeVito could stay along for that competition when they do draft that rookie, maybe. But, yeah, I mean, obviously they're not trying to win anymore at this point, so whatever.
Hey, it's very obvious. Tommy DeVito's mother said, Brian Dayball, unlimited chicken cutlets for you if my son plays. And that's what happened. I know that's exactly what happened, and that's what's going to happen. And Drew Lock stinks. So
yeah,
I still think Daniel Jones is the quickest way to tanking your season, if you really think about it. But they don't want to pay him the $23 million. But Tommy DeVito might actually give you a better chance to win because he's not in his head. So
although the Giants management might want to purposely lose games, I don't think Brian Daboll wants to because his status as head coach is still currently up in the air. There's no guarantee that he'll be around for that tanked pick next season.
He won't anyways.
He might not. I don't know. The Giants owner has said that he wants to keep the GM and the head coach. So it doesn't mean that will come to fruition. They could easily change their minds before the start of next season, but as of right now, it looks like Daboll is coming back. I'm sure he wants to look good. I don't know. I personally, I don't like either one of these guys. I've been a lot lower on Tommy DeVito than I think Kai has, and particularly, I don't know if you like Tommy DeVito or not, Dylan, but
I'm not banging the drum on Tommy DeVito. I'm just saying.
No, but you said that he should be in consideration for starting quarterback before the offseason even started last year, which I thought was fucking crazy because
I'm pretty sure I said at least competing for it. I didn't. I just said Daniel Jones shouldn't get the job outright then and there from the start. That's all I said.
Okay. Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So it was 6 games for Tommy DeVito last year. It's 3-3. 64% completion percentage, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So, I mean, not the worst stats ever. Personally, didn't pass the eye test for me specifically. I could see this being better than Drew Lock. I think I would have given Drew Lock a try, but I could see it being better. I'm definitely not banging the drum for Drew Lock either. I think Drew Lock's terrible. I think he's had like one career good game, and it was that Monday Night Football game last season for the Seahawks. So, for like Malik Neighbors and all of them, I honestly have no idea what to expect. I don't know. I'm going to hope it's better for Malik Neighbors personally, because I have him everywhere. I could see it being about the same though too. Since he's come back from injury, he hasn't been quite the same player. Still like decent, like, you know, in the mid-teens, I think, every single week. But I would hope that Malik Neighbors comes back to being like a every week you're feeling really good startable player, hopefully with Tommy DeVito, but we'll have to see. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I think with the wide receivers, you kind of have to proceed with caution just because we have no idea, you're right, how the offense is going to look. But I think Tyrone Tracy is about the only trustworthy piece on that offense left right now, because you know they're going to feed him the ball. You know he's going to do all right with his touches. So until we see more from Tommy DeVito and how this offense looks, yeah.
You know, I think it could look exactly the same, if not better, with Tommy DeVito, just because Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback by any means, right? And he's in his head. He has a low completion percentage. He has a couple good games here and there. Usually he has good games where his like completion percentage is higher. He doesn't have as many yards or touchdowns. He's not throwing the ball down the field as much. At least with Tommy DeVito, he doesn't have like that 5 years of hell playing back in his head over and over and over whenever he drops back to pass. So I think Malik Neighbors, his usage should stay the same. I don't see how it could get any worse. It was already okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, sadly, if you really look at it, dude, this is one of Daniel Jones's best seasons as a quarterback. He has a pretty decent completion percentage, yards per attempts about his normal career average, 2,000 yards passing. This is like what you're going to get out of Daniel Jones. So you're not going to sit Malik Neighbors just because he's not starting anymore, right? Are you trusting Neighbors' talent over the subtraction of a Daniel Jones? I think so. I think you trust the talent there at receiver. That's what you have to do.
And Neighbors, even though he hasn't had a lot of fantasy points, he's still getting a lot of targets. So hopefully that continues with DeVito. And if the targets can continue, I think Malik Neighbors will probably do better. So keep an eye on that. All right. The only other piece of news that we have is, so we'll stay in New York, I guess. The Jets fire general manager Joe Douglas. In 5 seasons under Douglas, the Jets have a 30-64 record with no playoff appearances.
Eesh.
Also, like 10 minutes before we started recording, Diana Rossini kind of dropped like a little bit of a bomb of an article talking about how Woody Johnson, the Jets owner, wanted to bench Aaron Rodgers after their, I believe, week 4 loss to Denver. It was a 10-9 loss, if you remember that game correctly, where the Jets looked awful. The coaching staff pretty much convinced Woody Johnson that no, we can't bench Aaron Rodgers because it would be embarrassing for Rodgers and it wouldn't go over well in the locker room. Tyrod Taylor obviously is the backup for the Jets. So they convinced Woody Johnson not to bench Rodgers. He accepted. And then a week later, Robert Saleh was fired. And it was basically without Joe Douglas's consideration at all. It was Woody Johnson just woke up and was like, all right, I'm making this change. Boom, Robert Saleh fired. So it seems like Joe Douglas hasn't had a lot of say lately in the runnings of the football team, which is not a healthy way of running a football team. That's usually, like the Dan Snyders, how they would run a football team. So just know that we're kind of dealing with a bad owner situation here. But I don't know. Is this the right decision? Because for me, Joe Douglas, he's made some decent moves with this Jets team. And if this is true that Woody Johnson's basically been controlling this team this whole entire time, or like, even a portion of it, I don't know if a lot of this is even Joe Douglas's fault. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to think about it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of more on board with your line of thinking here, just because Joe Douglas, give him credit. He did build a pretty tremendous defense over there in New York during his tenure there. I mean, Jets defense has always been ranked in like the top echelon part of the league. So yeah, I kind of tend to believe you. Like, how much control did he actually have? Was he the one that wanted Zach Wilson, or was it Woody Johnson? Who knows? Because the Zach Wilson draft pick kind of looms over this era in New York too. This is what arguably kind of set the franchise back too. So, I mean, if the situation is like this in New York, maybe it's best that just Joe Douglas get the hell out of there, because New York's just going down the drain.
The way I look at it is, if you're a GM and you're looking for a job, you're going to look at the team that's already in place. And from what I see, that's already in place in New York is a top 15, maybe arguably top 10 defense. Maybe possibly on paper, one of the best receiver cores in the NFL, top 5. An opportunity to draft a top 5 quarterback, because they don't have that many wins. And you could come in and have possibly full control of the team. So for me, this is probably just them wanting to start cleaning house. They want a new GM to hire a new coach, and you better get a good GM in there, or a guy that knows football, a guy that knows ball, up there in New York. As for like the owner of the team, or one of the executives of the team running the team, it wouldn't surprise me, and especially in a place like this. It would explain why it's been so dysfunctional. It would explain why there's been all these firings, all this drama. And I just got to say, dude, they thought bringing in Aaron Rodgers was going to be a good thing, and it just turns out it's not. And I think more people than not knew that it would not necessarily be the smoothest situations bringing in a guy like that. So hopefully they live and they learn, but it is the Jets,
Yeah, I mean, so Douglas obviously drafted Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, and Breece Hall all in the same draft class in 2022, which is pretty impressive. That's a pretty good draft class right there. I don't know. Obviously, like this isn't like a shock to anybody that this happened, but at the same time, I don't know if it's necessarily fair, but it is what it is. The Jets seem to be on to a new chapter. Rossini also said in this article that, so this is the passage here. The Jets are 1-4 since the Adams trade, 3-8 on the season, and are headed into an offseason in which they will be undertaking a full organizational reset, general manager, head coach, and probably quarterback. Rodgers is fond of both Joe Douglas and Ulbrich, the interim coach, and had been hoping for some continuity in 2025. As such, it's increasingly unlikely the quarterback returns next season, and it's believed that Johnson won't want him back anyways. So it seems like this is going to be it for Aaron Rodgers with the Jets. I would assume that Aaron Rodgers will be back in some capacity in the NFL next year, but it does not seem like it will be for the New York Jets. So any early predictions to where Rodgers might go? Don't say the Raiders.
Raiders.
Don't say the Raiders.
Home. Go home.
He doesn't have a home. His family doesn't like him, Dylan.
Go find a cave.
Hey, don't serve a soup with a dirty spoon. Get Rodgers out of there.
I've never heard that phrase before.
Don't do it.
It's very wise, though. Okay. He hate me? He hate me time? Do you got he hate me this week?
He hate me. I do.
Okay. I
got 2 players and a bunch of pain. Let me sit up here. My back's still hurting. So I'll start off with these players here. Obviously, they hate me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you need him the most, where is he? Playing the Steelers. When you need a man who's the number 1 player in fantasy to at least hit his season average, who's he going to be playing? The team he can't beat. Lamar Jackson? You need to get your head out of your ass, dude, because you can't even get past the Steelers, dude. You can't win a Super Bowl. You can't get past the Chiefs. You can't get past this. You can't get past that. It's time for you to actually prove that you can actually beat a good team, that you can actually put up some numbers and play football against a team that is better than yours, because you proved you can't. And I say for football, for fantasy football, for people betting out there, for people around America, for Ravens fans, it's got to make you nervous. And you got to think, is this hard in it? Because the Lamar Jackson I saw the other day playing the Steelers was sailing balls over people's heads, was scrambling around, couldn't find an open receiver, looked really nervous, looked really bad on the field compared to what we've seen this year. So my question to you, Lamar Jackson, is, do you hate me? Do you hate us? Do you hate your chances of winning a Super Bowl? I think you might. Feel free to answer that question if you see this. Number 2 is Deebo Samuel. I have to ask, what the fuck is going on in San Francisco, dude? Yeah. You have what I thought was one of the better players in the NFL just phased out of your offense. I don't know if it's his fault. I don't know if it's Purdy's fault. I don't know if it's the play caller's fault, but he has no role. And you're out there getting beat by the Seahawks at home. So what's up with that? Who's doing that? Is that the joke? Is that the joke that you would have?
It's all a joke.
Is that the joke that you would have possibly one of the best players in the NFL and not use him? Is that the joke? I want to know.
I do not think he's going to be on the 49ers next season, Deebo. I think it's a wrap. He's had a really bad season. Yeah. Straight up bad.
I know. I know.
I was going to say Deebo might be my fault, though, too, because I gave Kyle Shanahan a call. I was like, yo, Deebo's playing against me in fantasy football. I really need him to tone it down a little bit. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's that close with Kyle Shanahan that he's willing to do that for you.
Need to add to this segment, Kai hates you.
Wow. So you're bringing hate into this. Okay. Let me ask you something. Completely forget that this season's ever happened. Okay? If I told you 1 week before the season started that Brandon Ayuk would not play more than 5 games this year, that CMC would miss 8 games this year, that Deebo Samuel will be the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver on this team with Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall behind him, where would you rank him in fantasy football? He would be jettisoned
up. 20, top 15, yeah.
Top 20.
He would be in the first 2 rounds. Somebody's taking a chance on him. Guess what? He's not. And he hates me.
Do you know what ranking he is? PPR
he's like
this year?
39, 40?
He's 39, yeah.
I looked.
He has 1 20-point game, 2 18-point games, and the rest are just kind of mid to bad. So
that just ain't gonna do it.
Aaron Rodgers and Deebo Samuel, future Raiders, I should say. Aaron Rodgers, Deebo Samuel team up next year.
It could be good. It could be good.
It could be a disaster too, which probably would be.
And number 3, we're just gonna round this out with a little personal pain. Now, I've seen this many times before. I've seen this movie. I've said this before. The Chicago Bears, at the end of this game, it was, I believe, 3rd down. You have 1 timeout left. There's 40 seconds on the clock. They stand at the line of scrimmage like Ashton Johnson, dude, just waiting. And I see the clock ticking down. They take a timeout with 5 seconds left on the clock when they could have ran an extra play, gotten a better position for the field goal, gotten ready, actually played football. Instead, they burned 40 seconds, called the timeout, and then get their field goal blocked, dude. This is no different than Mark Trestman kicking a field goal on 2nd down to win a game and missing it. This is no different than us double doinking in the playoffs versus the Eagles. This is no different than Chris Conte blowing coverage against Randall Cobb in 2012 so we miss the playoffs. This is no different than any of those things, and they keep on happening. It's like I'm in a movie. It's like a time loop, and I think I've woken up in a different world, and I think I've gotten out of it, and I think I'm about to advance my life. Maybe I won't die here today. But let me tell you something, dude. A little bit of me died on Sunday. And I call for Matt Eberflus to be fired. You're calling it here, dude. After the season, Matt Eberflus needs to be fired. We have to have some sort of football mind in the building. Doesn't seem like we have any football minds in the building. It's a sad day. Virginia McCaskey, you hate me.
All right. He hate me week 11, everybody. Congratulations here.
I'm sick to my stomach.
I don't have the golf clap. Do we have the golf clap up anymore? I don't think we do. There we go.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Standings update before we get into the week 11 review. I got bad news, everybody. We all went 10-4 this week, so nobody gained any ground on anybody. So Dylan's 104-62. Kai is 2 games back, still 102-64, and I'm 7 back of Kai, still 95-71.
Why would I pick the Titans?
I was wondering that myself.
Yeah,
I got a little fucking big-headed over here, dude.
I believe you did another weird one too, didn't you? I can't remember. Maybe it was the only weird one. I thought I had a weird one too, and I thought you had another weird one. And I was like, why did Dylan pick them?
I picked the Browns to beat the Saints.
Okay, that might have been it.
Yeah, that's it.
But I did pick the Colts to beat the Jets.
You did? Yeah.
That is a good one. That was a good one.
Thanks.
First up, Monday Night Football, Texans 34, Cowboys 10. CJ Stroud continues to look a little shaky this year. 23 of 34, 257 yards, and an interception. I have seen stats that's shown that their offensive line has gotten, I don't know if it's by injury or just not playing as well, but they're allowing a lot more pressure than they did at the beginning of the year, which I think is partly to blame for this. So I do think CJ Stroud's having a little bit of a sophomore slump, but I don't think it's necessarily all his fault either. He's also been playing without a lot of his weapons for most of the year too. Stephon Diggs has now been out for a few weeks with a season-ending injury, and then Nico is out for, what was it, like 4 or 5 weeks. So I don't think it's totally his fault, but definitely we expected more, I would say. Joe Mixon, still amazing, obviously. One of the best fantasy football players in the league. 20 for 109 and 3 touchdowns. He also had 2 catches for 44 yards. Nico Collins returned to action, went 4 for 54. Also had a long touchdown called back. It was like the first play of the game, wasn't it? It was like one really
first or second, yeah.
And that got called back, unfortunately. Joe Mixon ended up getting the touchdown on the drive. Tank Dell went 4 for 54. Danielle Hunter had 2 sacks. Derek Stingley Jr. had an interception. Let's start with the Texans before we get to the Cowboys. What did you guys like about the Texans? What did you guys notice about them?
I mean, just a really good run game, really good defense. Just no other way to put it. Just very simple way to win this football game.
Yeah, dude. They're this is how you're supposed to play football. If your pass game's not working, pound the rock. Play good defense. And I mean, beat up on the teams you're supposed to beat. This game was a stinker in general.
Yeah, the Cowboys, Cooper Rush came in, looked better than he did last week, but still just not good enough to get it done. 32 for 55, 354 yards, a touchdown, a pick. The Cowboys' run game was atrocious. Rico Dowdle, 10 for 28. I don't think Zeke or Dalvin Cook got hardly any touches at all, right?
Zeke got 1 carry.
1 carry, that's it?
Yeah.
So, Deuce Vaughn had 4 carries. CeeDee Lamb had a carry. Zeke had a carry, and then Cooper Rush carried it 2 times for 2 yards. So,
it's just a mess
of the main running back, but still not anything to write home about there.
Yeah, it's just a gigantic poo-poo platter, the Cowboys run game.
This is not what we thought they meant by Rico Dowdle's the RB1 now.
Definitely not. No. 10 for 28.
To be fair, the Texans D line was having themselves a game. I swear to God, Danielle Hunter was like in the back every single play.
CeeDee Lamb went 8 for 93. Gavante Turpin went 3 for 86 and a touchdown. Touchdown actually was a really nice play by Turpin. It took like a slant route, 60, 70, 80 yards. Yeah, it was a really nice play. Jake Ferguson left pretty early in this game with a concussion. As of right now, his status is up in the air. We'll see if he plays next week. I don't know if you're really starting Jake Ferguson right now anyways. The Cowboys have already announced that Cooper Rush will remain the starter, but Trey Lance will have some packages installed. Do you guys like this plan here?
I mean, you got to go with Cooper Rush, but the Trey Lance thing, why? Just why?
I don't understand why they're not giving Trey Lance the chance to start.
Oh, so Kai says you got to go Cooper Rush. Dylan says you got to go Trey Lance.
This is the whole story of we know what Cooper Rush is. We know what Cooper Rush is. Trey Lance has never been given a shot. Why the fuck did the Cowboys think that
I think he stinks. I don't know.
So does Cooper Rush.
Yeah, Cowboys stink. So what?
I would play Trey Lance.
I would, dude. Trey Lance is a first-round pick. He's been injured. He's never really gotten a fair shake to play in the NFL, and you're still not going to give him the chance to play in the NFL?
I mean, he must look awful in practice because Mike McCarthy's job's on the line too here. Like, so like he's still not willing to start Trey Lance. So he must look real. They traded a 4th-round pick for him too.
And they
traded 4th-round picks for Trey Lance and Jonathan Mingo. What a great organization. What a great organization this is. What's the old adage? If you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any.
Yeah,
that's it right here.
There's 6 more games, right? There's 6 more games this season. Dak ain't coming back, y'all. Give Trey Lance 6 games. What's the worst that can happen? You finish 3-14 or 3, whatever the hell it is. What's the difference in it? What? Who knows? Yeah. Cowboys stink, dude.
They do.
Did you guys see the roof incident that they had? So apparently the roof hasn't been opened in like 2 years for a football game, and they tried to open it for this game, and a piece of metal fell off the roof onto the football field, so they had to close it back up and cancel that. And what's funny is they didn't even tell Joe Buck and Troy Aikman at the start of the Monday Night Football broadcast. Joe Buck's giving his introduction. He's like, they haven't had a roof open for a football game here in 2 calendar years, and tonight it's open for the Cowboys versus the blah 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 blah. And then there's like a pause for like 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, and Joe Buck goes, "Oh, they closed it." And then he just moves on to the next talking point. I thought that was pretty funny.
So dysfunctional.
Just a classic when it rains it pours situation. Also, I love the little bit of Mike McCarthy keeps having to deal with the sun during his like afternoon press conferences during the week. He'll be up on the podium at their team headquarters, and the sun is just blaring in on his eyes as he's trying to talk. It's just so funny, dude. It's just like just a pure comedy over there in Dallas right now.
It is. It really is. I saw that picture, and he needs some of these.
He needs some of those for sure. Yeah, Mike McCarthy. Okay. Next up, Sunday Night Football. Chargers 34, Bengals 27. Oh wait, hold on 1 second. Before we move on, I had one other thing to note about the Cowboys. They've now trailed by at least 20 points in 6 straight home games. They've trailed by at least 20 points in 6 straight games in Dallas, dating back to last year's playoffs and building on their NFL record. That is the record.
Wow.
Pretty hilarious. All right, next up. Chargers 34, Bengals 27. This was one of the best games of the week right here.
Yeah.
Amazing quarterback duel between Herbert and Burrow. Herbert 17 of 36, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 65 rushing yards. Joe Burrow was 28 of 50, 356, and 3 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins scored the go-ahead touchdown in the 4th quarter. He finished with 11 carries for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Chargers pass catchers, Ladd McConkey went 6 for 123. Will Dissly, one of my saviors, went 4 for 80 and a touchdown. Huge went 2 for 48 and a touchdown. Honestly, I think all 3 of these guys are very usable moving forward. Like,
I mean, Yeah, if the Chargers offense is going to look like this going forward, I mean, I could have sworn they stopped running the ball in the second half and it almost lost them the game, but that's another story.
Dobbins, I'm not concerned about, but I wouldn't say I'm like fully confident, like on board with him, just because sometimes he doesn't get as many touches as I would like him to. Like 11 carries really isn't that much for a team that you think really runs the ball a lot like the Chargers. But
I think that was just like an error in the game, though, because the Chargers were up like 20 plus points at halftime. And then like usually when you're up that many points, you got to run the ball out a little bit. Instead, they were hyper fixated on throwing the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For the Bengals, Chase Brown, 22 for 86, had 5 catches for 57 yards. Definitely still looking like a potential league winner. 22 for 86 isn't like the most efficient football game of all time, but 22 carries, you really like to see that. The Chargers have a good defense too. So
yeah, I mean, keep in mind, this was his first game without a touchdown in like the last 4 to 5 weeks. So he's been pretty consistent up until this point.
And then T. Higgins in his return, 9 for 148 and a touchdown. Jamar Chase obviously pops off yet again, 7 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. The Chargers were up in this game. What was it? 27-3 was that, or 27-6?
Mm-hmm.
It was 27-6 at halftime, and then the Bengals come all the way back. I thought they were going to pull it off, honestly, and then the Chargers at the end of the game got their shit together and ended up winning the game. So, what do you guys think about this game? Honestly, I thought, unless I'm forgetting one, I know Bills and Chiefs was pretty exciting, but I thought this was the best game of the week.
Yeah, no, this was my favorite game of the week. Yeah, just a very fun offensive game. Like I said, very just uncharacteristic of why am I forgetting his name? Jim Harbaugh, sorry. Yeah, just very uncharacteristic of Jim Harbaugh to just stop running the ball, especially with the 20 point plus lead. You know, I mean, it's not like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards were inefficient on the ground. Dobbins had 5.1 yards per carry and Gus Edwards 4.5. So, I mean, why stop running the ball? That's really my only gripe about this game, but everything looked good. Ladd McConkey looks like a beast in this offense now. Justin Herbert looks like he's healthy and back.
Yeah, man, they ran the ball less than 20 times the whole game.
Yeah.
Besides Justin Herbert's runs, which are useful. Like, he was a huge chunk of their run game. Very, very like explosive runs when you needed it. So you like to see that from your quarterback. A low efficiency passing day for Justin Herbert there, like less than half. You know, he's like a 48% completion percentage, although really, really explosive plays through the air. A lot of yards for those amount of completions. Not a lot you could say about the Chargers themselves. Like, for a second, it kind of looked like a stereotypical game that the Chargers blow. We've seen that. Yeah, it's like they blow those kinds of games all the time. I mean, if this was a playoff game, I'm pretty sure they would have lost it. But hey, you got to give it to the Bengals actually clawing their way back. But they've lost so many of these games now that their playoff hopes are slowly slipping into the abyss.
No, I think this was it. I think this might have been it.
This could very well be it, because to go 4-7 in the AFC North not going to be easy to claw your way back. But man, T. Higgins is earning his money for who he goes to next.
He is, but I think that the injuries piling up constantly is going to potentially hurt him, though. Too, you don't think so? He cannot stay healthy to save his life, man. I think, like, let's say my team signs T. Higgins, I'd be excited about it, but I'd be cautious for sure, because there's a chance he's on the injury report by like week 3, and you don't see him again until like week 11. Yeah, he's an amazing player when he's out there, but I think his injuries are an actual concern.
He's going to be a great receiver for a quarterback who really needs him, and I think Joe Burrow really needs him. But
I agree. I think Jamar Chase plays even better when T. Higgins is in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think T. Higgins being in there helps the entire offense, and their running game has been. I know Chase Brown is a pretty solid player, but all in all, their running game has been an absolute disaster this year, and their offense is still very good. So, like, T. Higgins leaving, and then if they don't address the running back per se situation next year, the Bengals might be looking really stinky before they look good again. So,
I mean,
where's Khalil Herbert?
I mean, they're not really using him, are they?
He's inactive, right?
I don't think so. I don't think he's inactive. I'm pretty sure he found his way into that game.
I have one question to bring up about Joe Burrow here. So,
sure,
can a quarterback with a losing record be in consideration for MVP?
No.
Definitely not.
No, because what are you, the most valuable player on a fucking six win team?
Yeah, but what if the stats were just like so undeniably good, you know? Like
that means that he just wasn't that valuable then. He wasn't able to win them games.
I think this is like based on sport, and football's not a sport where that can happen. It just
I just wanted to bring it up because it's pretty interesting. I mean, this was a great defense that the Bengals had this kind of production against, you know. I mean, this was probably the most points and yards that the Chargers have allowed all season. So just something I wanted to bring up.
This is going to be like a statistic that if they finish with a losing record and miss the playoffs, it's going to be a statistic that's talked about a lot, especially if he throws in the 40s, like over 40 touchdowns.
And like less than 10 interceptions. Yeah,
with like 5,000 yards, because he's on pace to actually get close to 5,000 yards.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I was like, his stats look really good right now. It's just very unfortunate.
All right, before we move on to great uniform matchup, the powder blue and the orange pants, dude, it looks so good together. I was like, oh man. I like the Bengals uniforms, and the Chargers I think might have the best uniforms, honestly, in the NFL. Like definitely the best non-classic ones, which I guess technically they are like a ripoff of classic uniforms, but not like the Bears, the Packers. Anyway, I'm rambling. Bills 30, Chiefs 21. Josh Allen, first off, made one of the plays of the year.
Hold on, he gets this. He gets this. Dog.
Because he's a dog.
He's a straight dog.
So he went 27 to 40 for 262, a touchdown and a pick, and then he had 55 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown on that play of the year that I alluded to. I think it was a 4th and 2 or a 4th and 3.
It was 4th down for sure, yeah.
In the fourth quarter, and Allen takes the snap as he's like backpedaling. He kind of like fakes the throw to the running back on the left-hand side. A gap opens up in the offensive line. He takes off. He's breaking tackles on the way to the end zone. Just an awesome man run from Josh Allen. They beat the Chiefs. I have a feeling we're going to see this game again coming up in January. I have a pretty good feeling that that's going to happen. I mean, amazing play. Does this make you guys feel better about the Bills' chances to maybe beat the Chiefs in a playoff game?
I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
It does. It does, man, because they got that defense. They have a really good defense this year. I mean, anytime you're able to pick off Mahomes 2 times, hold him underneath 200 yards, hold their run game down, and basically control the game from start to finish, which is what the Bills did. I think this was a close game, but this wasn't a game that, like, the Chiefs at any point had control.
Yeah.
I never felt like they did. And I haven't seen the Chiefs be out of control all 4 quarters of a game in a long time. Ever since that Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, probably, where like I really didn't have the sense that the Chiefs were going to actually win this game. So good on the Bills, good on Josh Allen. James Cook able to find the end zone twice. You know, it was a whole team effort to beat the Chiefs, and they're going to need that again.
Yeah. I mean, they also, when I saw that they were up by like 9 points, I was like, okay, this is like, the lead is too safe for any like weird bullshit to happen on this final drive. So I felt good about that at that point in the game, because you know how it goes with Chiefs games.
Yeah, you got to beat them by 9.
Yeah. Even then, though, at the back of my mind, I was like, it's not impossible here.
I know,
it's not impossible. Mahomes has that same aura as Brady did, where like if Brady was down 9 with like a minute 48, you're still sweating a little bit. Like a minute 48, that's like an hour 48. Yeah. James Cook ineffective but scored twice, 9 carries for 20 yards on the day. Khalil Shakir, the leading receiver for the Bills, 8 for 70. Curtis Samuel caught the touchdown from Josh Allen, 5 for 58 for him. Amari Cooper was only 2 for 55. Are you concerned about Amari Cooper?
No, this was just a tough game for the Bills.
Let me bring his stats up here. What does he look like since joining Buffalo?
So he had the one good game, his first game, right?
Was that against the Titans? 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown.
I believe so.
And then he had the game against Seattle where he only had 2 targets. Then he missed 2 games. And then there's this one, 2 for 55. I don't know. I'm a little concerned now they have a bye week. Like, this definitely is not what you wanted out of this. The Bills just have a weird offense. They don't need to throw the ball like a million times to their star wide receiver. They just need him to make plays when they throw him the ball. So, like, as it concerns the actual Bills offense, this isn't a concern. But if it's like your fantasy football team, I'm a little scared. I think he's still startable every week because of the situation he's in, but he's got a very low floor and a very high ceiling.
Well, I think that he probably still doesn't know the playbook. You know,
He's been there for 5
3
weeks now.
But he missed 2 weeks, so he's probably been in and
But
out.
he can still read, right?
Yeah.
we don't know that.
I can assume he can read the playbook while he's injured.
Well, I mean, he's probably, he's used to playing for Cleveland. So you got to imagine, like, maybe this is a lot more of a complex playbook than he's used to.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we'll see.
He's been in the league for a while. It can't be that hard to pick up on, right?
I would assume so. Mahomes on the other side, 23 of 33, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kareem Hunt, and potentially one of his last useful games, potentially the last one, because Pacheco might be coming back here.
I think he
He only went 14 for 60. It sounds like Pacheco is expected back next week. It's not a guarantee, but it sounds like he's expected back. So we'll see how they use Pacheco and Hunt. I assume that maybe not at first, but eventually Pacheco is going to get back to being like the workhorse. Which, by the way, coming back, has it really been like, how long has it been since he broke his fibula? Because I was almost like assuming he was going to be out for the rest of the season.
That's what they made it sound like at first. Yeah. But I think
it seems like way earlier than what he was expected to be back. I thought maybe we'd see him again in the playoffs or something.
Yeah. I want to say it was like week 2 or 3. I remember it being really early.
It was week 2.
Okay.
Week 2. Okay. So it has been 9 weeks. Okay. I remember when Terrell Owens broke his fibula in the 2004 season. I don't think it took him 9 weeks to get back. So, okay. Maybe that is a normal timeline then for Pacheco. Because I think T.O. rushed that back and it was only like 6 weeks he was out or something like that and then played in the Super Bowl. Xavier Worthy had a big first half, but then didn't do anything in the second half. Literally had 0 catches in the second half. 4 for 61 and a touchdown in the first half, though. I've seen a lot of people talking about this. Seems like he has like a little bit of a sideline issue where he like catches the ball and just then immediately just goes out of bounds, even if he has like room to run still. Have you guys noticed that too?
He's small.
Hey, you can still run in the open field for like another 10, 15, 20 yards, especially after how fast he is.
Might be scared of getting hit, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, eat some cheeseburgers, bud.
What does that mean?
Pack some weight.
Noah
Andy
Gray.
Reid loves cheeseburgers. I'm sure he'll share one with you.
Yeah. Feed your next star wide receiver, pal.
Noah Gray, 4 for 23 and 2 touchdowns on the day. Then Hopkins and Kelsey were a little disappointing. Hopkins was only 3 for 29. Kelsey only 2 for 8 in this game. So, good for the Bills. Chiefs finally lose their first game, no longer undefeated. And the 1972 Dolphins streak continues of being the only undefeated team. So congrats to them. Next up, Seahawks 20, 49ers 17. Geno Smith scores the game-winning rushing touchdown with less than a minute left in the game to give the Seahawks the win on the road. Geno finished 25 of 32 for 221 yards and an interception, and he also had 29 rushing yards and that rushing touchdown. Kenneth Walker, 14 for 54 and a touchdown. JSN. So a lot of questions surrounding him and DK, whether they could coexist in a fantasy football sense. I would say that JSN proved that he probably can. 10 for 110, really good game. DK Metcalf only 7 for 70 as well. Does this make you feel better? Like you trust JSN more moving forward after this performance?
Yeah, and I even think for the years beyond too, because I think we're all expecting Tyler Lockett to be the odd man out in the offseason, and hopefully the Seahawks draft a pretty good quarterback to come into a very nice wide receiver core. So I think it looks good for the future.
Yeah, I like JSN.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, 10 targets, 10 catches. That means more than 10 targets.
Yeah, let me look how many targets he had. He had 11 targets, 10 catches on 11 targets.
Efficient.
It's a PPR monster right there.
Yeah.
So I just want to say this too. Are the Seahawks not the most confusing team in the NFL right now?
They're one of them.
What do you expect from the Seahawks in any given week? No one can tell you. No one can tell you which version of the Seahawks is going to show up.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 2-5 since starting 3-0, so I still think that they're bad. This was just like a weird divisional game that they just happened to win. And I'm also thinking maybe the Niners just aren't as good as we think they are.
They're last place.
They're technically in last place. The 49ers are right now. They're tied for second place, but they do not have the tiebreaker over the Rams or the Seahawks. So,
man, this division is upside down, legitimately upside down from what anybody else expected.
Yeah.
And we still have no idea. Any one of these teams technically could still win this division. This is going to be one of the more interesting divisions to watch moving forward. For the 49ers, Purdy was solid, 21 of 28, 159 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He also had 40 rushing yards and a touchdown. CMC working his way back a little bit, 19 for 79 on the ground, 4 for 27 through the air. Wide receiver 1, Juwan Jennings. Wide receiver Juwan, 10 for 91 and a touchdown. Debo, talked about him already, disappointing again, 4 for 22. And then injury concerns for the 49ers. Nick Bosa left the game with a hip and / oblique injury. He will be evaluated as the week goes on. And then Brock Purdy is day to day with right shoulder soreness. So I assume Purdy will be fine, but just something to keep note of. And also keep in mind that it's Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, and you can't really trust anything they say about injuries. So who knows, but...
How are we feeling about Shanahan now? I mean, we obviously kind of discussed it over the offseason after the Super Bowl loss that maybe he was considered to be on the hot seat. How are we?
No, he's not on the hot seat.
How do you guys feel about him personally? Like, do you think he's part of the, like, do you think he's majority of the reason why the 49ers are a train wreck right now?
No. I think Kyle Shanahan's a great coach.
I don't think the 49ers are a train wreck.
I don't think they are either. I think
in comparison to what they normally are, they're a train wreck, right?
I wouldn't say a train wreck. I just think a lot of bad luck's happening to them. Like Brandon Ayuk, that whole saga, and then the injury, Christian McCaffrey being injured immediately this year.
Yeah, but
because like Brock Purdy's still playing really well. I think Purdy's had a really nice season. Debo obviously is a little bit of a disaster, but like that's okay. Just, he'll probably just be a cap casualty next season, and then it just is what it is. Yeah, I'm with Dylan. I don't know if they're like a disaster or anything like that. They still might win the NFC West easily. We have no idea.
Course, yeah.
So,
I'd say
I think they just run into some bad luck.
They have a division record of 1-3 right now. So they can't have a winning record in the division. So winning this division is going to depend on them pretty much winning out, maybe a game or two, but they cannot lose another division game. They can't lose to the Cardinals. I believe, do they play the Cardinals? They played the Cardinals again, right? It's just like they're not necessarily, they play the Cardinals week 18. We finally get some valuable week 18 football this year, almost guaranteed. Not a train wreck. If you look back on the Niners, they've had struggles like this every single season. They have never had a perfect season. They have always had a slide here and there. This one's just a little bit more, and I think their division is a lot more competitive. So if they have to slug it out to win, maybe that's good for them. But Yeah, like Brian said, I wouldn't be surprised if they outright win this division, finish first place.
Of course, yeah.
It is way too close to call. They're all within one game of each other.
I mean, it's still not an elite division by any means, despite everything going on.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I think any one of these teams except for Seattle could win. Like, I really do feel that way.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Broncos 38, Falcons 6.
Oh, Nix.
I mean, Nix legitimately might be first place in the Offensive Rookie of the Year voting now. I still think Daniels probably wins it if season ends today, but every single week it's getting closer and closer and closer. Bo Nix is playing excellent football right now. 28 of 33, 307 yards and 4 touchdowns. I am so sorry about Audric Estime, everybody. I thought he was going to be good. He was not. 6 for 16 on the ground, 3 for 9 through the air. Javonte Williams was the main running back to start, I guess, here. But even him, he didn't have a lot of work either. 9 for 59 and a touchdown on the ground. 4 for 28 through the air. Are you touching any of these guys moving forward? I'm staying away from this. Sean Payton has been doing this to us for years. He obviously just hates fantasy football and wants to be a troll. So it is what it is. I just refuse to play any Denver running backs.
Yeah, because it's like it's a guessing game. Mm-hmm. I think the answer to that question would be one of them would have to be inactive. Like if Audric Estime is inactive, I'm starting Javonte Williams.
I tell you what, I wouldn't even do that either because Julian McLaughlin's still there, and also Tyler Bidet is coming back pretty soon. So this is going to just be a clown car of running backs here the rest of the season, I think.
That's fair.
We talked about it before. I wasn't ready to commit to it. I think I am now. Cortland Sutton. I think he's a must start rest of the season. Yet another good game, 7 for 78. Little Jordan Humphrey, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Nate Atkins were the touchdown scorers for the Broncos. For the Falcons, Cousins struggles big time against the Denver defense. I mean, you guys were all over this. You guys picked the Broncos this week. I picked the Falcons. You guys were completely correct with your call. Kirk was a statue back there. Denver was just all over him constantly. He went 18 of 27, 173 yards and an interception. Bijan had a bad game as well, 12 for 35 rushing, 4 for 28 receiving. Drake London, the leading receiver for Atlanta, 3 for 61. And then Darnell Mooney was 2 for 27 and left the game with an injury. I do not think he returned either. So keep an eye on that as we move forward throughout the week. Thoughts about this game, boys?
I mean, obviously the biggest surprise is Bo Nix. I mean, I thought that the Broncos were going to win this game anyways, just off the strength of their defense alone. I kind of almost expected an ugly game. I didn't expect Denver to just completely stomp them. But yeah, I'm happy about Bo Nix though, man. I mean, Dylan was the biggest banger of the drum for him, but I'm right behind him with my love for Bo Nix. So glad to see him doing well.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see this being a stomping. But it kind of unfolded the way I thought it would, is that Kirk Cousins does not handle pressure very well. He doesn't handle getting hit very well. He seems to just get rattled pretty easily. A nice pass rush will do a quarterback that anyways. So, and they have a good back end. The Broncos obviously have a top defense in the NFL, one of the top defenses in the NFL. What's crazy to me, though, is 6 points from the Falcons. Mm-hmm. We think that Kirk Cousins has the best weapons. He has one of the better running backs, one of the better receiving rooms. Kyle Pitts did he even play in this game?
He had 1 catch for 8 yards, I believe.
Kyle Pitts, that is a classic Kyle Pitts game. I don't know where this leaves the Falcons. And I wish someone from like a different division could win the NFC South. I really do. I'm starting to think like it's kind of unfair that a team gets to win this division year after year. It's never good. Since Drew Brees left, dude, who's deserved to win the NFC South except for Tom Brady?
I was say Tom Brady was in the NFC South for a little bit, but
yeah, but this just puts the Buccaneers back in it. This puts the Buccaneers back in it.
Even the Saints are back in it. Arguably.
Shut your mouth.
Arguably, hey. It's a rager. It's a rager.
I guess you're right. If they can get past,
he is right, but he's also very wrong.
Mathematically, I'm right.
Yeah, mathematically he's correct, but logically he's incorrect. Yeah, not good. I think I don't. To me, the Bucks probably can. I don't know. They're so much better than 4-6, man. I feel bad, but that Mike Evans injury too, we haven't heard either. We've been hearing that this was the target week for him to come back after the bye week. I haven't heard anything. I don't know if he's going to play this week or not.
Might be at least one more week.
Mike Evans coming back would help them, but we're running out of time here. So that was week 11. How many more weeks do we? So 12, 13, 14,
6.
15. We have 7, right?
Oh wait,
yeah.
Bucks have already had
weeks.
Yeah.
So 6 more weeks of football. So technically, Tampa and New Orleans both can still make a run here, but I would expect only Tampa to potentially do it. I still think Atlanta's good enough to make the playoffs. I just think they're going to get trounced by whoever they play.
Yeah.
First round. Next up, Steelers 18, Ravens 16. Russell Wilson, who was a very popular streaming name this week in fantasy football, disappointed even though the Steelers got the win. 23 of 36, 205 yards and a pick for Russ. Najee was pretty disappointing as well, 18 for 63. George Pickens has yet another batshit crazy moment. Did you guys see that play where he reached his foot out to the out of bounds? Like he caught a ball on the sideline. Instead of like trying to tap his toes, he extended his leg like all the way out and he stepped out of bounds.
I don't think I remember seeing that. No.
It was every single week George Pickens has a play where it's like, what is this guy doing? One of the more entertaining players in football by a lot. He finished with 8 for 89 though, so still had a nice game. Peyton Wilson had one of the coolest interceptions of the year. Did you guys see that one when Justice Hill kind of like caught the ball, but Peyton Wilson just basically like took it out of his hands? Mm-hmm. That was pretty sick.
That's defense right there.
Mm-hmm. Lamar struggled, 16 for 33, 207 yards, touchdown, a pick, 46 rushing yards. He's now 1-4 in his career against Pittsburgh. Derrick Henry fumbled on the opening drive, and that kind of like set the tone for the day. Because, I mean, it was a low scoring game. It was like old school football, but the Steelers kind of felt like they were in control for most of the game, to me at least personally. I feel like if the Ravens go down and score on that opening drive, maybe they control the momentum of the game and it goes a little bit differently for them. But Henry finished 13 for 65 and a touchdown. Isaiah Likely was the leading receiver, 4 for 75. Zay Flowers caught a touchdown, but only had 2 catches for 39 yards total. Steelers have now won 8 of their past 9 against Baltimore.
Damn.
And this is the second time this season the Steelers have won off of 6 field goals. They scored 18 points, 6 field goals. The Falcons were the other time in week 1. They won 18-10 over the Falcons. So Chris Boswell has basically won 2 games for Pittsburgh this year. Pretty cool. Thoughts about this game?
Steelers defense is legit.
They are.
Absolutely legit. Might be number 1.
Are the Steelers the best team in the NFL?
No, the Lions are.
No, Lions for sure, yeah.
Are the Steelers the best team in the AFC?
No, the Bills are.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. I think I would argue that the Steelers probably have the best defense in the AFC.
Over the Chargers?
Yeah.
I would take the Steelers over the Chargers too.
I mean, especially after what we just saw with the Chargers on Sunday, so.
Yeah. Dude, the Steelers are tops in the league. When it comes to defense, like straight up points per game, they've not allowed a lot of yards.
Yeah.
It's tough to say they're not playing like
they might win their division. I mean, if they own their divisional opponents like this, I mean, might be them.
It's a very close division though.
Yeah. I
mean they have the tiebreaker over Baltimore, which I think is the only team that really threatens them. And Lamar just doesn't play well against them. and they're going to walk into the playoffs with maybe a better defense that they had last year and a quarterback with actual playoff and Super Bowl experience. Like,
let me ask you this. If, let's say you're the Ravens, let's say you're the coach of the Ravens, which of these three scenarios would you rather have? Would you rather have to go into Kansas City for a January playoff game, Buffalo for a January playoff game, or Pittsburgh for a January playoff game?
Buffalo.
Buffalo of those three?
Yeah. You do not want to face the Steelers in the playoffs at all. In Pittsburgh, where you know your quarterback shits his pants. Like Lamar Jackson shits his fucking pants when he plays the Steelers in Pittsburgh.
I thought that was against Cleveland.
I mean, he shits his pants. He shits his pants all the time. I liked this game a lot, though. This was probably one of the more fun defensive games I've watched in a long time.
It was some old school shit, man.
Yeah.
Old school football. Felt like we were in 2004 again.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher and Brian Billick.
Does the guy with the pinky?
Did Brian Billick have a weird pinky? No, it's Brian Baldinger, isn't it? Brian Billick is the old Ravens coach.
The double B's gets me.
Colts 28, Jets 27. The return of Anthony Richardson. He looked really good. 20 of 30, 272 yards and a touchdown. He also had 32 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, inefficient as shit. 24 for 57. Josh Downs is now usable with Anthony Richardson, apparently. That's very good news. 5 for 84 and a touchdown for him. Alec Pierce was 3 for 74. They were the leading receivers on the day for Indianapolis. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, his completion percentage was pretty good, but low passing yard number, 22 of 29, 184 yards. I cannot fucking speak English. 2 touchdowns. Breece Hall, huge game, 16 for 78 and a touchdown on the ground, 7 for 43 and a touchdown through the air. Devontae Adams, 6 for 72 was the leading receiver. Garrett Wilson, 4 for 18. The Jets are now 1-5 since firing Robert Saleh. So let's start with like Breece Hall. Breece Hall, this was his first big game in a while, so that's got to be good. You know, feeling good for Breece Hall owners. I know Dylan and I both own Breece Hall in leagues this year, so that was encouraging to see because I was starting to get a little concerned about him personally. I don't know how you feel.
I lost. I have Barkley and Hall, and I lost, so I feel great.
But how do you feel about Breece Hall specifically? I wasn't talking about your fantasy team.
Good. I mean, could he score 40? No?
He could, potentially.
I wish he did. It feels good, dude. It sucks that he's like a part of a team that doesn't stretch the field. I feel like Breece Hall would be so much better of a fantasy asset if Aaron Rodgers would actually look down the field and stretch the defense out and not compact the game to where you don't have to play deep and the safeties could move up and run support. He's playing an uphill battle the entire game. That's what Breece Hall is basically Saquon Barkley from last year. He's got all the tools you want. He's got all the talent in the world, but that offense is limiting him completely. And I don't look for that to be the case going forward. But this year, Breece Hall scoring more than 17 fantasy football points is like pulling fucking teeth out of your head, pliers with no kind of like numbing agent whatsoever. Is that good enough?
That's good. That's good. That's great. That's good analysis right there. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that if the passing game was better, it would be better on Breece Hall. I think this is like an outlier season. I still think Breece Hall is going to be like a very good fantasy play going forward in the years to come. But this was just a really stinky season from the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to the Colts. Anthony Richardson. Does this make you feel like more confident in him for the rest of the season? Or was this just like, oh, he was playing the Jets? I mean, the Jets still do have a good defense, even if they are dysfunctional as shit.
This is the guy that I thought would finish number 2 in the fantasy football quarterback rankings at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. The guy that doesn't have to have a crazy passing game to score points. I mean, the upside of the 2 rushing touchdowns is crazy, and he has that as soon as he steps on the field. It's just like, can you run the offense to where you can get into position to score these touchdowns? And he finally did. And look, the Colts won, and he looked great.
Yeah, I thought so too. Are you like considering starting him moving forward if you have him on your team?
I still think it would have to be very matchup dependent. Like, I don't know. I'm still a little hesitant. I want to see a little bit more consistency first, but man, if it works out, yeah, he's league winner again.
He's got Lions, Patriots, bye week, and then the Broncos the next 4.
Well,
I would say, yeah.
I probably wouldn't start him against the Lions, but
Rushing upside. A rushing upside quarterback is not a matchup dependent quarterback. Like a Russell Wilson is a matchup based quarterback. A Kirk Cousins is a matchup based quarterback.
I see what you're trying to say, but I'm also talking about from like a game script standpoint. You know, it's like, what if the Lions drop 50 points on him again? You know, it's like
he's going to be throwing bombs. Like, he's going to be like, you're going to live and die by the fact that Anthony Richardson is going to have to be pushing the ball down the field and hope he can.
Yeah, it's either going to be really ugly or really good. So be ready for the ride.
Yep.
All right. Next up, Saints 35, Browns 14. Derek Carr was solid, 21 of 27 for 248 and 2. But Taysom Hill stole the show. He threw a pick, lost a fumble, had 7 carries for 138 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns and 8 catches for 50 yards to the tune of how many points?
It's like 39, right?
Don't fall for it.
42 points.
Oh, man.
In PPR.
He's going to trick
I disagree. I think you should fall for this, honestly.
We do this every year with them.
New coaching staff, though, and both of their starting receivers are injured. I said this a minute ago that I thought Taysom Hill was going to be useful coming up here.
Yeah.
I don't think you're getting 40 points every single week. I'm not saying that, but I do think that like he is a starting tight end worthy play for sure, and potentially even a flex play.
Just know that you are taking a risk if you go with him a second week in a row. He might give you 2
very low floor.
He might give you 2 points next week, and you're gonna be like, "Oh no!"
I mean, since Darren Rizzi took over, 16, 7, and 42. So
okay,
65 points in 3 games.
Let him cook.
Maybe Taysom Hill is just like it turns out that he's the best player on the Saints. And he always has been since he's been there. Maybe he's been the best player on the Saints since Drew Brees left. But any guy who's throwing the ball, running the ball, catching the ball, see if that motherfucker can punt and just see what happens, dude.
Well, he's on special teams already. He's out there tackling too.
Free up like 6 roster spots.
Dude, you could just have Taysom Hill be like
Sammy Baugh,
the high school football player that never comes off the field. That's what Taysom Hill reminds me of. Is like the coach's son who just plays every single snap and hopes his dad's proud of him. Somewhere out there, Taysom Hill's dad's proud of him, dude. Because that dude's 34 years old, running. 78-yard rushing touchdown, catching passes, throwing passes, just being as jacked as you can ever see of a dude wearing number 7. You know? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara, 16 for 67. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 2 catches, 87 yards, and another touchdown. MVS now has more touchdowns with Derek Carr in 2 games than he did with Patrick Mahomes in 2 seasons.
Jesus.
Wow. Sometimes it's just you find your match.
Or sometimes maybe it's just you're the only guy that can run.
That's true too. Yeah. Hey,
the only guy.
Look at me trying to be optimistic for his career. Okay. Hey.
Foster Moreau, 3 for 50. Juwan Johnson, 3 for 30 and a touchdown. So you couple them in with Taysom Hill. It was just a big old tight end day for the Saints.
Yeah.
For the Browns, Jameis was solid and mistake free, but the Browns defense was just completely outmatched. Jameis, 30 for 46, 395 yards and 2 touchdowns. This is the Jameis we like to see. Nick Chubb still can't really get it going. 11 for 50, I mean, his yards per carry is okay, but just not really a difference maker in this offense so far. Let's talk about the receiving here for the Browns, though. We got Judy, Njoku, Elijah Moore. Judy was 6 for 142 and a touchdown. Njoku was 9 for 81. Elijah Moore 6 for 66 and a touchdown. I think Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore are both good waiver pickups this week. I think Elijah Moore is going to be on more waiver wires than Jerry Jeudy is, but I still think Judy's out there. I think both are good pickups. Know that you still have to compete with Cedric Tillman every single week as well, and that Jameis could have bad weeks any given week for no reason whatsoever, just a random reason. He just decides to play bad. But I actually think, like, if you're really struggling for like usable players, I actually think Judy and Elijah Moore are both usable going forward. They get a lot of targets. Yeah, so it's not going to work out every week, but they do get a lot of targets where I would feel like optimistic about playing them if I had to.
Yeah, I mean, all four of the big receiving options there, they all saw 8+ targets this game. So, I mean, that's just the volume potential for all pass catchers in Cleveland with Jameis at quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Dude, all four of them.
All four of them, dude.
Oh, did I forget to put the thumb down? Shit.
you went all four.
My muscle and mind weren't working in conjunction there.
Is that the muscles or the mind's fault?
I don't know. Probably the mind.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, dude. I think all these guys are playable. I mean, Njoku's obviously the most valuable in my opinion because of the position he plays. But Jerry Jeudy, if he's on waivers, like you're probably in a league where there's probably a bunch of players on waivers. Then if Jerry Jeudy's on the waivers,
yeah, good point.
Now we all said that we feel good about the big four. But they do play the Steelers on Thursday Night Football this week. So are you playing any of the big four? And Njoku, I think you probably got it, but I am nervous about that matchup. I don't know how they are specifically against tight ends. Just in my head, that seems like a very scary matchup. The Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Is it in Cleveland?
I'm just gonna go ahead and say this here. I think Elijah Moore probably has the highest upside of any one of these players going into this game, just because he has the most chance for like the
quick routes.
Those quick routes. He's near the line of scrimmage more. He's like a PPR machine, I guess, like the quick little passes. And I think they will be outmatched again by Pittsburgh, but any one of these guys, I would say outside of this game is startable regardless. And I'm talking about Jeudy, Moore, Tillman. I would say all these guys deserve at least a spot on your roster. Go into the game against the Steelers. It's a short week. And remember, we just said Jameis Winston is prone to stinky games. So there is a humongous chance that there's a stinky game in a couple days coming from Jameis Winston.
Oh yeah.
Like 3 or 4 picks at least.
Oh yeah. So if Jameis doesn't throw a touchdown, I think Elijah Moore has the best upside.
So since Jameis took over, Jerry Jeudy in the 3 games has 29 targets. 30 targets. I'm sorry. Elijah Moore 29 targets. Cedric Tillman 28 targets. And Njoku has 23 targets. In 3 games. All the big four.
So they're all almost averaging like 10 targets a game. Since Jameis has been
basically.
Yeah. So I mean, dude, that volume potential alone is enough to just give yourself a reason to start any one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes you think, why can't every NFL team just have 4 players on the offense averaging 10 targets a game? You've done that twice now. Are you okay?
I don't know.
Rams 28, Patriots 22. Stafford carves up the Pats 18 for 27, 295 and 4 touchdowns. Kyron Williams 3 straight bad weeks, 15 for 86 on the ground. Once was thought to be the surest touchdown bet every single week in fantasy football, now has not had a touchdown in almost a month. So that's devastating to his owners, me. Puka 7 for 123 and 1. His touchdown was awesome too, by the way. It was like a sprawling grab on the right side of the end zone. Cooper Kupp 6 for 106 and 2. I would imagine Puka and Cup coming back are partly the reason that Kyren has fallen off a little
That's
bit
exactly
fantasy,
what I was going to
unfortunately.
say.
Yeah. Colby Parkinson had a 19-yard touchdown for the Pats. Drake May was solid. 30 for 40, 282, 2 touchdowns and a pick. The Patriots had a little bit of a comeback in this game, fell short. Ramondre, 20 for 73. Kind of the story of the season for Ramondre. He's had a lot of those types of lines. Kendrick Bourne, 5 for 70. And Vidarian Lowe, who I've never heard of before.
I think he's a O lineman because he was number 53.
Sure.
Yeah.
Caught the 2 passing touchdowns from Drake May. So does this tell us anything that we didn't already know about the Rams or the Patriots? I think we already knew that the Patriots are a bad team, but they're still scrappy. The Rams needed a win after losing to the Dolphins. Needed to beat the Patriots, and they got the job done. So they're still in the running here for the playoffs.
I mean, it looks good for the Patriots, though, in regards to their rookie quarterback. I mean, week by week, he's looking better and better. He's spreading the ball around in his offense. You know, he has multiple receivers here with 4+ catches in this game, too. So I like what I see from Drake May so far. I think the future looks bright in New England with a few draft classes.
Yeah, dude, T. Higgins is going to look really good in a Patriots jersey.
Hey, that'd be a great spot, huh?
I could see it. They need to get him a stud quarterback. I mean, in this game, you kind of just saw exactly what you thought was that the Rams passing game was going to tear up that defense. I do like Drake May, though. I think he's going to be a stud in this league. I feel like he walked into a situation that wasn't necessarily the best when it comes to rookie quarterbacks this year, and he's making the best of it. It really just shows you his skills. I mean, if you're going to tell me a rookie with 5 games experience in the NFL is going to go out there and throw 40 passes and only throw 1 pick and keep his team in the game. I mean, and that pick was at the end when he was pushing it down the field, trying to give his team a chance. So he played a relatively clean game. And at the end of the day, they had a chance to win this game. And that's all you can really ask for Drake May.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with Drake May, honestly, since he started. Not like he's not like an all-pro or anything yet, but doesn't make like a lot of like rookie mistakes. Looks poised in the pocket. I think he's going to be a pretty good player.
Which is very hard for rookies to do, by the way. I think he's like one of like the best rookie quarterbacks I've seen when it comes to how he reacts in the pocket, how he moves when he's in there, when it starts breaking down. Yeah, I really love his game.
And also, another thing about T. Higgins, too, that's honestly a good prediction out of you because remember, they were one of the teams that were in on Brandon Ayuk. So it's very obvious that they want to spend money on a wide receiver. Yeah. So, and when you have a rookie quarterback, too, and he doesn't have a lot of like high profile weapons, usually that's like one of the top things on the wish list is go get a wide receiver 1. Bill Belichick didn't necessarily believe in stuff like that. I think that this regime is going to believe that that Drake May needs a top tier wide receiver. So
they might even draft one too.
Would not be shocked. Yeah. Dolphins 34, the Raiders 19. Tua was sharp on the day. 28 of 36, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. Achane honestly didn't do as good. I thought Achane was going to pop off. I mean, he still had a good game, but didn't really go nuclear like I assumed he was going to. 17 for 73 and a touchdown, 4 for 32 through the air. Jonnu Smith was great, though. 6 for 101 and 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns, he was open by like 40 yards, I want to say. I mean, just nobody around him at all. Tyreek Hill, 7 for 61 and a touchdown for him. For the Raiders, Minshew, 30 for 43, 282, 2 touchdowns and a pick. They're just going to keep churning him out there because they have no fucking choice until AOC comes back. The Raiders run game, bad. Zamir White and Madison both got injured in this game. I will say, if you are just the most desperate you've ever been, Amir Abdullah is potentially a play next week. I'm just saying, it's not. You're not going to feel good about it, but they like themselves some Amir Abdullah. So if neither one of them play, I think Abdullah is unfortunately playable. I wouldn't recommend it, but he is playable next week. So if you need a running back, he's out there on the waiver wire. I can guarantee you he is. So
I'm not touching any Raider not named Brock Bowers.
And I don't blame you because it's still the Raiders. So even if they like Amir Abdullah, it is still the Raiders. It's still the Raiders offense. That's why I would not recommend starting him, but just know that if he is the starting running back, he's playable. I guess they could also play Dylan Laube, but I just know how they feel about Amir Abdullah.
He hasn't been healthy all season.
He hasn't been healthy, and also when he has been healthy, he has not been good. He has no. I don't even think he's been injured, unhealthy. I think he's been a healthy scratch.
Yeah, he's just been sitting on my dynasty roster out the entire season.
Unfortunately, I think he might be bad for your dynasty roster. Unfortunately,
it's okay. It was just a 4th round.
Brock Bowers, 13 for 126 yards and a touchdown. Dare I say Brock Bowers is potentially in the Rookie of the Year running?
Oh,
I mean,
I definitely
he's going to finish as probably the best rookie tight end of all time.
I think considering his position, you kind of have to throw him in and Rookie of the Year consideration.
I mean, right now, I think he's probably 3rd behind Daniels and Nix.
Yeah,
he's definitely taken over Neighbors. Brian Thomas is probably up there too, honestly, but
I think he's over Brian Thomas.
I don't think Drake May's in there yet. And I definitely don't think Caleb's in there anymore. So
I believe he has 70 receptions on the season so far.
Wow.
Which is pretty close to being the most a tight end has ever had through 10 games. Ever.
Yeah, he has 70 catches for 706 yards and 3 touchdowns this year, 89 targets.
Let me just put this out there. He has more catches than through 10 games than Travis Kelce's ever had through 10 games. I saw that stat.
Impressive. It's impressive.
It's very impressive.
I mean, he's had double-digit targets 4 times in the last 6 games too. So like, he is like their one piece where it's like when in doubt, Brock Bowers is open down there somewhere. The number 1 tight end in PPR. So
looking like prime Dallas Clark out there.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Yeah. Name drop.
There's not much to say here. The Raiders are really bad. The Dolphins are bad too, but not as bad. That's it. Jalen Waddle, by the way, man, he is just bad, dude.
Man.
I think he's like I obviously I still think he's a good player, but he's just not good fantasy wise. He hasn't had double-digit point total since week 1. I think he's droppable, dude. He only has 1 touchdown on the year, and it was 3 weeks ago when he finished with -4 yards.
Sad to hear.
Yeah, I think you were holding out hope until Tua got back to see if he could wake this offense up. Tua has looked better than any quarterback they threw out there in his absence, but the offense has not woken up the way that we expected the Dolphins offense to wake up. And it seems like it's mainly going to go through Waddle and Achane more than anything. And also Jonnu Smith's having a pretty solid year too. So I think Waddle's droppable.
Dude, the AFC East is so depressing this year for any team that's not the Bills. The Bills have scored 116 points more than the Jets, who are the 2nd in scoring in that division.
Dude, I mean, this is how it's always been with the AFC East. Instead of the Patriots, it's now the Bills. It's just always one good team and 3 fucking horrible teams. We're just doomed to have to deal with a non-competitive AFC East every single year, no matter what. So
no matter what.
Looking forward to the Dolphins' turn in 10 years.
What? It's going to be the Patriots.
Patriots again?
Yeah, dude.
30, and then the Bills again?
Drake May.
Vikings 23, Titans 13. Sam Darnold bounced back here, 20 of 32 for 246 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. The Vikings run game, though, ineffective against the Titans. Obviously, the Titans defense is very good, but Aaron Jones was 15 for 39. Cam Akers was 10 for 25. Justin Jefferson, 6 for 81. Addison actually had a pretty solid game, 3 for 61 and a touchdown. Cam Akers had the other receiving touchdown. Then the Vikings defense just completely shut down the Titans run game in return as well. They also had 10 tackles for a loss on the day. Will Levis, 17 of 31, 295 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Actually, Levis had a couple of really nice throws in this game. I got to give him credit.
Yeah. I mean, he's always kind of showed that skill set, though. You know, he can complete those big, crazy passes. It's just not consistent.
Calvin Ridley, 4 for 58, and then Westbrook Akine, 2 for 117 and a touchdown. He had a 98-yard touchdown in this game, and it was also just an amazing throw and catch. Like, it was such a sick play. Westbrook Akine has honestly been really good since DeAndre Hopkins got traded. He doesn't get like a lot of opportunities, but when he does, he really shines. Let me look at how many targets he has here compared to how many touchdowns he has. He has 25 targets this year, 15 receptions, and 5 touchdowns. So Very, very efficient. He only has one game where he's had a target where he doesn't have a touchdown.
Calvin Ridley had like a 70-yard touchdown called back in this game as well.
And it was a nice play too. It was a really nice play.
It was a very nice play, and it was one of those call it when you want illegal formation plays that
I hate those ones.
They just like randomly decide to call, during certain times. It's bullshit, but what it is it shows a little bit of like promise, because like Will Levis isn't good, but he has one of those live wire arms, dude. He really does. You feel like it's either going to be an interception or he's going to throw a 90-yard touchdown.
Jameis 2.0.
He's almost, yeah, dude. I was about to say he's Jameis Winston. He really is.
All right. Anything else about this game?
Nah.
Ooh.
Let's get to the one that everyone wants to hear about. Packers 20, the Bears 19. Jordan Love 13 of 17 for 261, a touchdown and a pick and a rushing touchdown. Josh Jacobs, one of Dylan's saviors, 18 for 76 and a touchdown, 4 for 58 through the air. Christian Watson had a huge day, 4 for 150 yards. Did not score a touchdown, but still a nice day from him. Jaden Reed caught the lone passing touchdown. It was like on the first drive of the game, too, I want to say, or maybe second drive. 2 for 23, though, he finished. So he did not have a good fantasy game, even though he started off with a touchdown. That was very disappointing to see. Packers won on a blocked field goal, because of course they did. And then just real quick, the Bears, Caleb Williams, 23 of 31 for 231 yards and 70 rushing yards in his first game with the new offensive coordinator. DeAndre Swift, 14 for 71 and a touchdown. Roshan, 10 for 33 and a touchdown. And then Odunze, 6 for 65, and DJ Moore, 7 for 62. So go ahead, vent about the Bears. I know you already did a little bit, but what did you see in this game, and how do you feel exiting this game?
Man, going into this game, I didn't really have hope that the Bears would win. I didn't think that they would. But just the fact that Jordan Love only had to complete 13 passes to really have an efficient game just shows you the Bears defense might be good. They might be great, whatever you might call them. I don't think they're great. They're good. They lit up plays in the most inopportune times. They're just litting up like, a third. It's always been this way. The Bears' defense can hold someone to a 3rd and 15, and I'm like, well, that's easier to get than a 3rd and 2 on our defense. It just showed it was really leaky. Caleb Williams did look a lot better, but it seemed like he was able to open. There was rushing lanes open for him. The run game got going a little bit. And I do want to say this is not an excuse, but there was a very blatant penalty called on that field goal at the end, the leverage call, where basically you blow up the long snapper and drive right through the middle, which is illegal. And it's been called a couple times this year. Didn't get called. Like the long snapper ended up on his back, which is never supposed to happen. You're supposed to go around him. So it is what it is. And like I said before we started recording, you can't sit here and convince me Cairo Santos wasn't missing that field goal anyways, dude. I can feel it in my bones. I can feel it in my bones.
It's the Bears against the Packers. It's the same exact yardage that the double doink was. I understand where you're coming from. It felt like a cursed moment.
It definitely was one of those cursed moments, and I blame it on the Bears for not being able to punch it in. All they had to do was just kick the extra point when they were going for 2. I know the analytics say go for 2, go for 2, go for 2, do this, do that. But like, take the points. You don't got to go for 2 all the time just because the numbers guy said, yeah, fuck you up there. Who said that? That was John Gruden, right? Yeah, he said, fuck you, analytics guy. I feel the same way sometimes. It is a painful loss, but it's not an unfamiliar feeling.
Dylan, the Packers and the Bears have played 66 times since 1992. 66. How many of those games have the Packers won, do you think?
Okay, so I think since what year?
1992.
And it was 66.
66 total games. How many of
Okay.
the Packers won of those 66?
It's got to be single digits.
Wait, I'm gonna say.
No, how many of the Packers won? How many of the Packers won?
Okay.
I'm gonna say the Packers have won 48 of those games.
You got a guess, Kai?
52.
51. 51 and 15 against the Bears since 1992.
Ay.
That's rough.
Yeah. It's not an unfamiliar feeling. I believe I've cursed the Bears. That's right around when I was born.
I mean,
Maybe.
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Checks out.
Strike me down if you will.
That would have been a crazy moment if that actually would have happened. I would have gone on TikTok immediately.
Might have had to stop the pod.
You just put my dad.
Dylan just exploded in his desk chair. I'd be like, all right, signing off. I have to make some clips right now.
And I would greenlight those clips. Me dying on camera.
Like, I mean, this is a really horrible sight to see, but Dylan understands the content grind.
Just imagine my mom screaming, "What?"
Dylan said it was for the views.
Don't worry, we got 46 likes. A couple more nuggets from this game. First off, this is, I think, just a coincidence. Jaden Reed averages 130 receiving yards in Packers losses and only 36 receiving yards in wins. That just seems like a little bit of a coincidence, right?
Yeah, I'd like to see the other players' statistics, but that's just a coincidence. He doesn't have a huge sample size.
I thought specifically like the Eagles game, obviously, remember he popped off and they ended up losing by like 1 point. So I'm like, but that's going to skew it a little bit, but I thought that was interesting. That's from Nathan Janke from PFF. And then this is obviously the first game with the new offensive coordinator. What's his name? Thomas Brown for the Bears. In Waldron's 9 games, DJ Moore on screen passes, 12 catches, 12 yards. 1 game of Thomas Brown, 4 catches, 44 yards. So at least that looked better.
Our whole offense looked better in general.
That's good.
We were in the game, dude. That's all I ask, is that we're in these games. It doesn't bother me that we lose these games because it's obviously the first year of Caleb Williams and the new system and all that. Just be in them. Don't lose. Don't score 6 points.
Yeah.
That's fair. Caleb looked better?
Yeah, I thought he did.
He looked a lot better.
One more thing before we move on. Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson. Is that a new thing? It looks like Roschon's going to get more work? Or it looked like he was the goal line back. I didn't watch a lot of the game, but to me it looked like he was the goal line back just from like statistics and video I saw. Is that right? Or
Khalil Herbert plays for the Bengals, brother.
I think, well, you know what he meant.
Did I say Khalil Herbert? I meant Roschon Johnson.
You said Khalil Herbert. No, Roschon is the goal line back. He's been the goal line back in Chicago. I just want you to know, you just haven't seen us near the goal line very much. Gotcha. He is that guy.
Yeah, 10 for 33 and a touchdown for Roschon. I think Roschon is an okay pickup in fantasy.
Oh, I just want to put this out there too. I think he is now this. I think it might be in his career. He's like a 95% touchdown rate when he gets a carry inside the 5.
Oh, that's a nice stat.
He's a really good goal line back. He's very strong.
All right, let's get out of here with this one. Lions 52, Jaguars 6. First off, this was a scoregami. 52-6 was a scoregami. Yeah. So
did you call the scoregami last week, Kai? But not for this game, but you called a scoregami at some point, right? I
did. I don't remember what game it was for. I don't even remember if it was for this week, honestly, but I'm not going to claim this one.
No, I'm not giving him credit for it. I'm not giving him credit for it. Jared Goff was incredible. 24 of 28, 412 yards, 4 touchdowns. The Lions' run game was basically every single facet of the Lions game, offense and defense, was fantastic. So Monty was 15 for 75 and 2 touchdowns. Gibbs was 11 for 69 and 1. Amon-Ra St. Brown had his best game of the year, 11 for 161 and 2. Jamison Williams had his first big game since week 6, 4 for 124 and a touchdown for him. And then for the Jaguars, just absolutely nothing to talk about. Mac Jones was just garbage, 17 for 29, 138 yards and a pick. ETN 12 for 27. He was one of my stinkers. That was the easiest call of my life. Brian Thomas Jr. 5 for 82. Perfectly fine, but I mean, not going to be too happy with that if you're looking for a big fantasy performance. And then this was the third biggest yardage differential all time in NFL history. The Lions had 645 total yards compared to the Jaguars 170 for a difference of 475, which trails only the 1976 Rams and the 1979 Rams.
Wait, this was a professional football game, right?
If you could call it that, sure.
Yeah, that yardage differential, man. That's what you see.
645.
That's like what you see an SEC team beat up on like Appalachian State or something like that. That's like
Alabama versus Mercer numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
That was from Hayden Winks on Twitter. This is the worst loss in Jaguars franchise history. Coincidentally, it surpasses a 44-point loss the Jaguars had to the Lions in December 1995. So the Lions have kicked the Jaguars' asses twice in their history. So good for the Lions. And then injury notes here. Gabe Davis tore his meniscus. He is out for the season. Alex Anzalone broke his forearm. He will miss 6 to 8 weeks. So that's a huge loss for Detroit.
Yeah. He's such a good linebacker for them.
6 to 8 weeks, too. That's, I mean, basically the rest of the regular season. We'll see him again, hopefully in the playoffs if they make it that far. If they make it into the divisional / conference finals rounds. So, yeah, that sucks for the Lions. But other than that, I mean, great across the board for Detroit.
Best team in the league.
Dude.
For sure. Against the worst team in the league.
That was the third highest yardage total in the NFL since the year 2000.
So who was the first two?
I don't know.
Oh.
But I do have some stats.
645. I was like, I don't remember anyone having 600 yards ever. That's why I was thinking it might have been first, honestly.
This was a game of numbers, and I'm going to list off a couple of these just to kind of let you know how good the Lions are. It's the largest, 46 points is the largest margin of victory in Lions history. It's the most, 644 is the most yards in franchise history. 38 first downs, the most first downs in Lions history. 7 consecutive touchdown drives to start the game by the Lions. That's the most in the regular season since 2007.
Wow.
400, the yardage difference. 24 consecutive games, including the postseason, in which the Lions have scored a rushing touchdown, an NFL record. 3 wins by 38 points this year. No other team has won.
Wow.
Okay. 90 years since the Lions have won 8 consecutive games in the same season. 90 years since the Lions started 9-1. 19 years since the Lions have had 3 consecutive winning seasons. 4 games by Jared Goff with a passer rating of 140. That's the most in a season in NFL history. Perfect passer rating for Jared Goff. It's the first time it's happened for the Lions since 1994. The most games with an 80% completion percentage in NFL history, 5 this year for Jared Goff.
Wow.
And 8 consecutive games with a touchdown by Amon-Ra St. Brown, the third longest single season streak in the NFL since 1970.
Goddamn! So
we're just like witnessing history. This might be one of the best teams we've seen in a long time.
This might, if the Lions go on to win the Super Bowl, they will quite possibly.
Might be one of the best runs.
It might be one of the best teams in NFL history, the 2024 Detroit Lions, if they can piece it together and win the Super Bowl.
So who are we rooting for to win the Super Bowl? Obviously, Kai's team is still in it, so he's rooting for the Eagles. But who are you? I'm rooting for the Lions.
I do like the Lions. I am secretly rooting for them in the back of my head. Of course, when it comes down to it.
What's going to happen is the Lions are going to spank the Eagles' asses by 40 points in the NFC Championship game.
Would I be shocked? No.
Who are you rooting for to win the Super Bowl, Dylan? I doubt you're rooting for the Lions, right? Your division opponent.
Dude, okay, so there's there's a dream Super Bowl matchup that I wish I could see, and I'm rooting for this one. I'm rooting for a Lions-Bills Super Bowl now. That is my rooting stake. I'm rooting for the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Okay. I think Josh Allen deserves it, and that big hunky man beast of the big, tall, buff, strong guy. I hope he wins. I hope his life is perfect.
Okay.
You know,
Joey just took over Dylan's body temporarily.
Apparently.
All right. That's it for the Week 11 review. Now let's get to Thursday Night Football real quick. Steelers 8-2 at Browns 2-8. Myles Garrett did not practice today. Elijah Moore and David Njoku were limited. Alex Highsmith is questionable, but Mike Tomlin said on Monday that he will probably not play on Thursday. I'm going to be short and sweet here. I love Jameis Winston. I'm rooting for the Browns, but I have the Steelers by a lot. I think the Steelers... I think we're going to see a bad Jameis day. I think the Steelers win pretty handily.
Yeah, this is one of those picks where it's just too chalk to ignore. I mean, Steelers have the best defense. They have the best coach. Steelers are playing great football right now. Dylan just said they might be one of the best teams in the NFL. So, yeah, this is pretty cut and dry Steelers win, I think, even away.
Yeah. I'm going to... God.
No. I mean, do it. I don't care. I'll take a game on you.
If I were to pick the Browns, they were to win, but I'm not picking the Browns because I don't think they'll win. This just seems like the kind of game the Steelers don't have to do too much. Don't get too cute. Mike Tomlin, get out there, coach your guys to a victory, take your long bye week. Steelers win this game.
Okay. All of us are on Pittsburgh. That's it for us. As always, you can find us at Raging Takes everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. You can email us ragingtakes@gmail.com. I'm at Montana Sauce on Twitter. Kai is at RTP Kai, and Dylan is at Such a Wise Fool. We'll see you on Saturday.